Greetings Exiles, this is Card Raziel coming to you with Sir Reginald Amadeus Fortescue III and Frank. Today we're bringing you the RighteouSplosion Elementalist, part of the RighteouSplosion Sixpack. The Elementalist's main role in the RighteouSplosion Sixpack is speed clearing of higher tier maps, tier 9 to tier 15, and it's much faster and has far greater area of effect than the Juggernaut. Now let's have a look at the passive tree, starting with the ascendancy points in order of importance. First off, we go for Shaper of Desolation. This allows us to ignite, shock and chill for 4 seconds at a time, and then chill, shock and ignite for 2 seconds. This is really good since our explosions deal primarily fire damage. It's nice to be able to shock things as well. Liege of the Primordial. We gain 40% increased damage for having a flame golem from this, as well as doubling the flame golem's effect, giving you about another 40%. And then it also allows us to have another golem, which allows us to bring up a defensive golem as well. Paragon of Calamity. This reduces the reflected damage we take from our explosions, as well as, due to the Eye of Innocence amulet, we gain 40% increased fire damage and 8% reduced fire damage taken, which helps with our Righteous Fire sustain. Lastly, Pendulum of Destruction. This is going to give us an extremely powerful Righteous Fire and explosions for 4 seconds out of 10. On to the actual passives. We come out of the spell damage from the Witch into Occultist Dominion, and then through Firewalker out into the center, picking up all the life we can find, all the AoE we can find, grabbing Elemental Overload, some extra dexterity if it's required, going through into Purity of Flesh and into Sovereignty. This will allow us to increase our Purity of Fire by 1 at the end, grabbing some regen and life along the way, at least 1 jewel socket for the Conqueror's Potency Jewel, grabbing Elemental Equilibrium, Shaper into another jewel socket if you prefer, going down into Constitution, where we can pick up life whenever we have a free point, another jewel socket. We grab Combat Stamina for regeneration, life and armor. Going up into the Templar, we grab Sanctity as well as the regeneration nodes next to it. Discipline and Training into Retribution, Amplify, Elementalist, Devotion and Endurance for the extra endurance charged life, elemental damage and area of effect that this little section gives you. We're picking up more dexterity, as I don't have any on my gear for this particular character. Arsonist for life regeneration and fire damage. Barbarism for maximum fire resistance to help with our Righteous Fire sustain, as well as some extra life. Stamina and life regeneration per endurance charge to increase our regeneration when our endurance charges are up. Lastly, coming into Born to Fight, Heart of the Warrior, Warrior's Blood, and life regeneration for the life regeneration that gives you. Also picking up Versatility for some increased attack speed, dexterity, and intelligence. Let's go over our gear and gem sockets. Firstly, we have our weapon, a Karui Scepter crafted with the essence of Delirium. On this, we want attack speed, a flat elemental damage of some sort preferably, and just no flat fire damage. If you get flat fire damage on the weapon, it's not going to work so well. In here, we have the support gems which will support our explosions. For the Elementalist, we use Elemental Proliferation, Fire Penetration, and Controlled Destruction. So this will make it so that when our explosions ignite, they proliferate that ignite, and clear screens at a time. For our shield, we're using Rise of the Phoenix for the extra maximum fire resistance to help sustain Righteous Fire. In there, we have Summon Chaos Golem for the physical defense, Summon Flame Golem for the increased damage, and Enduring Cry to generate endurance charges. For our helm, we're using a armor helm with an Essence of Horror crafted onto it. For the socketed gems deal 30% more elemental damage. Ideally we want some increased armor on this, as well as some life and resistances. As for enchants, I like Purity of Fire mana reservation here, although Chaos or Stone Golem effectiveness is also quite nice. In here we have Righteous Fire, quality preferably, with Elemental Focus, concentrated effect, and increased burning damage. With the Elementalist we rarely need to switch out concentrated effect for increased area of effect, since our explosions will deal the majority of our area damage. For our body armor we're using Calm's Heart. This gives us some much needed extra life, as this build has much less life than the other versions, as well as increasing our fire damage, which is nice, but yeah, at the end of the day you've got about 400% increased elemental damage on this build already, so that's not that huge of an improvement. For our gloves we have some Dragon Scale Gauntlets, which have been crafted with the Essence of Insanity. On here we would like accuracy rating, no flat fire damage, and the opportunity to either craft life or to have life on them already. In here we have our Leap Slam, socketed with faster attacks and Fortify, as well as our Cyclone, socketed with the same gems. Fortify can be replaced for life gain on hit if you would prefer to heal faster. And what this basically does is it just makes our Cyclone hit 20% more because we have it in our gloves, and it makes our Leap Slam 20% faster because we have it in our 20% more attack speed gloves. We want Commandment of Flames on hit on the gloves, as this will allow us to burst down packs the moment we first hit them, which is nice since we don't have to wait for the explosions to proc. For the boots, we have some rare boots here. You can also use Death's Door. The benefits of Death's Door would be bleed immunity, an additional endurance charge, and an increased duration on our self-ignite. The drawback obviously being that it doesn't have as much life as some rare boots and not as much resistances. On the other hand, we have rare boots, which have high life and resistance potential, as well as higher movement speed potential. In our boots, we have socketed Castman damage taken with Vortex, Blade Vortex, and Determination. If you experience lag, you can remove Vortex for increased area of effect, and that will solve a lot of the lag issues that this build can create. For our amulet, we are using the Eye of Innocence. Now, this is basically a drop from the Phoenix boss in the tier 16 map, Lair of the Phoenix. Now, what this does for us is it gives us some chance to ignite with our explosions when we're not in the igniting conflux. Gives us increased damage while ignited and leech while we're ignited, which thanks to Moku's Embrace will be pretty much all the time when we're engaged in combat. For our rings, first off we have Moku's Embrace, which gives us some increased fire damage, some fire resistance, some cold resistance, some extra chance to ignite, 20% increased attack and cast speed while ignited, and 25% chance to be ignited. So this coupled with the Eye of Innocence means that on 25% of the times we ignite something, we will ourselves become ignited. For our second ring we have the Pariah. This is plus 100 maximum life because it has a red socket, and within this red socket we have Purity of Fire level 21. This brings it up to level 23, giving it 5% additional maximum fire resistance. With our aura effectiveness that we've collected, this brings the total up to 6% maximum fire resistance, which is really nice. For our belt, we have a life resistances belt, which has the corrupted implicit +1 to maximum endurance charges. While not necessary, this is extremely helpful. For our flasks, we're using Witchfire Brew for the vulnerability blasphemy aura when the flask is in effect, as well as the increased damage over time. We're then using an Eternal Life flask for healing whenever we dip down a bit, and a movement speed flask with as much movement speed as we can get our hands on. Additional utility flasks can include Dying Sun, which is quite expensive, but this increases our righteous fire radius by a considerable amount, as well as increasing our maximum fire resistance to allow us to regenerate more. Other utility flasks may include sulfur flasks, basalt flasks, granite flasks, whichever one you find most comfortable using. An additional movement speed flask could also be used here, or an additional life flask. There is an alternative setup for the Purity of Fire, and that is to use a level 3 Empower in your boots, socketing both of your golems, as well as Purity of Fire and the Empower in your boots. This will net you less total mana to use for your skills, but at the same time will free up a ring slot for Calm's Way. When leveling this build, you can go Flame Blast, you can go Firestorm, any sort of AoE fire skill should sort you out quite well. At level 56, if you already have your Scepter sorted, you can equip that, and the explosions will proc off your fire spell, preferably Firestorm at this point. That's it for now. If you have any questions, you can write them in the description here on the appropriate forum thread, or you can tweet me at CodRaziel to ask them questions. Next up, we will be doing either the Ascendant or the Pathfinder. If you tweet me on which one you'd like to see next, I'll tally up the votes and we'll see which one I do. On Monday I'll start doing that, guys. So vote over the weekend, guys. So that is that from myself, Sir Reginald Amadeus Fortescue III, and Frank. We say good luck and stay juicy. Then like and subscribe. And follow me on Twitter.
Nightmare prevails!